These foods have manufacturing processes that might make you think twice before adding them to your shopping cart.
From ancient civilization to quirky culinary traditions, brace yourself for an adventure that'll leave your taste buds tingling. We're about to uncover the 20 strangest ways that food was prepared, so get ready. Number 20. The cockatrice. During the Tudor Age, people made a strange dish called the cockatrice. It was a mix of pig and an old rooster stitched together to look like a mythical creature. This dish was the highlight of fancy banquets back then. Even though it seems small compared to what we consider big animals today, it still looked weird. Here's how it was typically prepared. The front half of a pig, including its head and front legs, was sewn onto the back half of a capon. The result was a fantastical and visually striking hybrid creature that combined elements of both animals. After the pig and the capon were sewn together, the entire concoction was roasted or baked until fully cooked. The presentation of the dish was often elaborate, with additional decorations and garnishes added to enhance its visual appeal. We're not exactly sure when the first cockatrice was made. One story says it was the English King Henry VII around 1485 to 1509, but it appeared on a menu from a banquet in 1425, way before Henry's time. So, how do you make this? First, you took a pig and an old rooster, cleaned them, and cut them in half. Then you sewed the back of the pig to the front of the rooster and the back of the rooster to the front of the pig. After stuffing it like a pig, you covered it with egg yolks, saffron, ginger, and parsley juice, and then roasted it. Some cooks even got fancier. They soaked the cockatrice's head in brandy and set it on fire to make it look like it breathed fire. The cockatrice wasn't just for eating, since it was also for show. Hosts would present it to guests at the end of a feast, still looking like a strange creature with fur and feathers. They'd then reveal the cooked meat inside. It might sound strange, but back then, it was a big deal. It's hard to imagine eating something like that today. Number 19. Fish bladder jelly. Fish bladder jelly was a peculiar culinary creation from history. Back in the day, especially during medieval times, people discovered a strange but useful ingredient for making jelly: fish bladders. The Victorians are famous for many things, like fancy piano covers and advancements in plumbing, but not so much for their cooking. One odd thing they did was use the bladder of the sturgeon fish to make a sweet jelly dessert. They took a substance called isinglass from the bladder. Originally used in glue, it became popular in England as a food ingredient in the late 18th century. Even today, it's used in some beers and wines like Guinness. Here's how it worked. Fish bladders, when boiled, contained a substance called isinglass, which acted as a natural gelatin. People would extract isinglass from the bladders and use it to make jelly by boiling it with other ingredients, like fruit juices or wine. The resulting jelly had a unique texture and was often served as a delicacy at feasts and banquets. It might sound odd to us today, but back then, using fish bladders to make jelly was a common practice. Isinglass works like gelatin or pectin to make liquids thick. To make sugary jellies, Victorians boiled filtered isinglass with water, sugar, lemon juice, and fruit. It was a long process, but people went to great lengths for a sweet treat. Number 18. Jell-O salad. In the 1950s, the rise of packaged convenient food sparked a craze for gelatin salads, often molded into attractive shapes. While encasing foods in gelatin or aspic dates back to the 1600s, the 1950s and 1960s saw a Jell-O craze reach new heights. Magazines featured recipes for congealed salads with ingredients like shrimp, rutabaga, meats, and vegetables. Technological advances in packaged, powdered, and canned foods were changing the way people cooked. For the first time, there were mixes for foods that had already been made from scratch. The Jell-O salad became a novel and exciting way for families to eat their vegetables. One suggested serving even included a strange topping of Mayonnaise. Jell-O salad is a classic dish that gained popularity in the mid-20th century, particularly in the United States. It typically consisted of gelatin, commonly known as Jell-O, combined with various ingredients such as fruits, vegetables, nuts, and sometimes even marshmallows or whipped cream. Jell-O salad is often served as a side dish or dessert at potlucks, family gatherings, and holiday meals. Its colorful appearance and sweet flavor make it a nostalgic and comforting dish for many people, despite its simplicity and sometimes unconventional ingredient combinations. At one point, the Jell-O company introduced tomato and cucumber flavored mixes, but they didn't stay on the market for long. We can only imagine why. Number 17. Kopi Luwak. Kopi Luwak is a unique and somewhat bizarre coffee variety that originates from Indonesia. Kopi Luwak is the most expensive coffee globally, and it has an unusual origin. It comes from poop. Well, not exactly. It's made from coffee beans that are partly digested and then pooped out by the civet, a cat-like animal. In the United States, a single cup of Kopi Luwak can cost up to $80. Civets live in Southeast Asia and Sub-Saharan Africa. They have a long tail like a monkey, markings on their face like a raccoon, and stripes or spots on their body. They also eat insects, small reptiles, fruits like coffee cherries and mangoes. Initially, the civet coffee trade seemed good for these animals. In Indonesia, the Asian palm civet, which often causes trouble in commercial fruit farms, was valued because of the growing Kopi Luwak industry. People protected civets for their valuable dung. The civet's digestive enzymes changes the coffee beans, making them less acidic and giving a smoother taste to the coffee. However, as civet coffee became more popular and with Indonesia becoming a tourist hotspot where visitors want to see and interact with wildlife, more wild civets are being kept in cages on coffee farms. Some are kept for coffee production while others are there for tourists to see, creating a troubling trend. Number 16. Chica. Chica holds deep cultural significance for many South Americans, particularly those in the Andes regions. While its roots are often associated with the indigenous groups of the Andes, some of the earliest forms of chica are believed to have originated from the Cuna people of Panama and Colombia. Interestingly, the term chica may stem from the Cuna word chichab, signifying corn, although the Cuna word for their maize beer is ina. In Cuna culture, ina served various purposes, initially consumed as a ceremonial beverage marking the transition of young girls into womanhood. Traditionally, chica making involves a unique process where maize is chewed and then spat into a container. This method employs natural enzymes from saliva to convert maize starch into sugar before boiling and straining the mixture. Legend has it that the humble origins of chica trace back to an indigenous individual who stumbled upon discarded liquid, consumed it, and found themselves inebriated. Over time, chica gained prominence and became the primary beverage of the Inca nobility, served during significant religious ceremonies dedicated to sacred places and mountain gods. Beyond folklore, architectural evidence suggests that chica de jora, made from maize and other ingredients like lucuma and quinoa, has been crafted for over 5,000 years. Historical records indicate its presence in ceremonial rituals and festivities approximately 3,000 years ago at Cerro Blanco in Nepena, along Peru's northern coast. Number 15. Stuffed dormice. Have you ever heard of dormice being food? It might sound strange, but in ancient Rome, they were considered a special treat. Instead of just being cute little critters, dormice were actually roasted and served as delicacies. So, how did the Romans prepare them? Well, they had a special way of fattening up these dormice. They kept them in dark jars called galeriums, where the dormice hibernated all year round. Inside these jars, there were tiny staircases, places for food, and little air holes to keep them comfortable. Once the dormice were plump enough, they were stuffed with nuts and roasted with honey and spices. Imagine that, a mouse stuffed with nuts. They were usually served as appetizers at fancy Roman dinners. Eventually, eating dormice became forbidden, but Romans still enjoyed going on mouse hunts for dinner. Stuffed dormice were considered a delicacy and were served as a luxury dish at banquets and feasts among the Roman elite. The dish was not only a symbol of wealth and extravagance, but also showcased the culinary creativity of the time. Interestingly, even today, some people still hunt and eat wild dormice in places like Slovenia and Croatia. They're considered quite a delicacy in those parts of the world. Number 14. Muktuk. Culture is amazing, don't you think? In the Arctic, people rely mainly on the ocean for food. They fish all year and hunt whales and seals seasonally. One traditional dish they enjoy is called muktuk, made from whale skin with a layer of blubber. Among the bowhead, narwhal, and beluga whales, the bowhead skin is considered the tastiest, followed by the narwhal and beluga. Muktuk can be prepared in various ways: salted, fresh, fried, or pickled. The whale fat has a nutty flavor, while the skin can be a bit rubbery. This dish has been a vital part of the Arctic diets because it's rich in vitamin C, which helps prevent illnesses like scurvy. Different Arctic cultures, including indigenous Greenlanders, Canadians, Siberians, and Alaskans, have their own traditions of enjoying muktuk. However, in recent years, its popularity has declined due to changing taste among younger generations and concerns about ocean toxins that can accumulate in marine life. Despite these challenges, muktuk remains an important part of Arctic culinary heritage. Number 13. Beaver's tail. During the Middle Ages in England, there were days when people couldn't eat meat, but they found a way around it. Fish was allowed, so folks ate a lot of it during fast days like Lent, Wednesdays, Fridays, and even leading up to Christmas. But not everyone had access to fish, so some turned to an alternative: beaver tails. Beaver tails were seen as fishy enough to be considered fair game for eating on fast days. They were shaped like flat fish and spent a lot of time underwater, making them a cheap substitute for those who couldn't get fish. Unfortunately, this led to the extinction of beavers in the 17th century in England. This isn't the same as the delicious Canadian treat, also called a beaver tail, which is made of deep-fried dough. And the link between the two is interesting. Early settlers in Canada saw indigenous people cooking beaver tails over fire, inspiring them to do the same with bread. Some settlers, like George Ruxton, even enjoyed the taste of beaver tail, considering it is a delicacy. Surprisingly, this wasn't just a North American thing. It was also popular in pre-Reformation Europe. During fast days, people couldn't eat land animals, but since beaver lived in water, their tails were fair game. This workaround helped people stick to religious rules while still enjoying a meaty treat. Number 12. Ambergris. This strange substance comes from the guts of sperm whales, and you might be surprised to learn that it's considered a delicacy, fetching a whopping $63,000 per pound. Yes, you heard that right. Perfume companies love it for its ability to make scents stick to the skin. But wait, there's more. Ambergris is basically edible whale vomit. Gross, right? It floats in the ocean, basking in the sun until it hardens into a waxy lump. Once it's expelled, ambergris can spend years in the ocean, where it is gradually weathered by the elements. Eventually, it might wash ashore, where it's discovered by beachcombers or fishermen. Even Herman Melville, the author of Moby Dick, was so disturbed by it that he wrote a whole chapter about it. Yet, despite its origins, people throughout history have been all about it. In Turkey, they used it in cooking. Dutch and English colonists, they liked their eggs with a touch of ambergris. There's even a recipe from an annotated edition of Paradise Lost that suggests melting it onto roasted game before baking it in pastry. And get this, Casanova supposedly used it as an aphrodisiac. Talk about strange tastes. But hold on to your hats because it gets even weirder. In a Chicago cocktail bar called Billy Sunday, they shaved ambergris into drinks, claiming it tastes like an old-fashioned. Can you imagine sipping on a drink with whale guts in it? Definitely not your grandma's idea of a classic cocktail. Number 11. Roasted heron. Let's take a trip back in time to the 14th century, when one of the earliest English cookbooks, The Form of Curry, was penned around 1390. Back then, curry meant cooking, and this book was filled with 196 recipes that offered a peek into medieval culinary delights. Now, here's where things get interesting. While some recipes might sound familiar, like white cake and chicken, others might raise an eyebrow or two. Imagine flipping through the pages and stumbling upon instructions for cooking seals, porpoises, whales, cranes, and yes, herons. The author of The Form of Curry remains a mystery, but many suspect it was the royal chefs behind its creation. Much like contestants on a cooking reality show, they had to work their magic with whatever exotic ingredients were available, aiming to impress the royal palate. What's truly remarkable about this cookbook is its fusion approach to cooking. It wasn't just about English fare. It incorporated techniques from other cultures, paving the way for what we now call fusion cuisine. Herons may not be the first thing that comes to mind for a royal feast, but back then, they made it to the table. Considering an adult heron weighs about 5 pounds, you needed quite a few to feed a royal gathering. So, how did they prepare these majestic creatures? According to the cookbook, the heron was plucked, wrapped in bacon, and seasoned with ginger before being roasted whole. Just imagine the sights and smells wafting from the medieval kitchen as the chefs prepared this unique dish. Next time you're cooking dinner, remember the adventurous spirit of those medieval chefs and their penchant for culinary experimentation. Who knows, maybe you'll find inspiration in the pages of history for your next meal. Number 10. Boiled calf's head. Since the English Reformation in the 1600s, beef has been a staple, from prize cuts like rump and sirloin to more humble fare like bullock's heart, which often stood in for the Christmas turkey in northern England. The French even coined the term les rosbifs to poke fun at our beef-loving ways. But let's zoom in on a particular beef dish that's been simmering since 1660, the boiled calf's head. It's not just about the taste. It's about symbolism, too. In an era where cattle farming was cutting edge, this dish represented more than just a meal. Recipes for boiled calf's head have been passed down through generations. People used to share recipes detailing how to boil, bake, or hash the head and even turn it into a charming pie. The process involves thoroughly washing, boiling until tender, and careful preparation of the meat, including slicing the tongue and removing the eyes. But wait, there's more! The head is stuffed with a flavorful mix of sage, meat, and breadcrumbs, and served with a delightful white wine, nutmeg, and orange sauce, seasoned with a touch of salt. Sounds tempting, doesn't it? However, procuring a calf's head might be a challenge, and not everyone may be eager to try it. Once cooked, the meat from the calf's head is typically served alongside vegetables and sometimes accompanied by sauces and condiments. While it may sound unusual to some, boiled calf's head was historically considered a delicacy and was enjoyed by many as part of traditional feasts and special occasions. But it's not as commonly prepared or consumed today, as taste and culinary practices have evolved over time. Number 9. Century eggs. Now, let's talk about these preserved eggs, also known as century eggs or thousand-year eggs. These eggs have quite the journey, from humble beginnings to gracing the menus of top-tier Michelin-starred restaurants. Legend has it that preserved eggs were stumbled upon accidentally, with stories ranging from duck eggs discovered in a pool of slaked lime to tea-spilled eggs found in ash. Despite the myths, one thing's for sure, these eggs weren't originally preserved in horse urine, despite what some might believe. Traditionally, preserving these eggs involved a mix of raw eggs, ash, salt, lime, clay, and rice husks. But as science progressed, so did the preservation techniques, shortening the process from months to weeks. Once cracked open, preserved eggs emit a unique aroma with hints of ammonia, but their taste is surprisingly creamy and succulent, reminiscent of a regular egg. The yolk should be slightly runny, leaving a delicate residue on the knife. From accidental discoveries to refined preservation methods, preserved eggs hold a rich history and a truly distinctive flavor profile. Number 8. Balut. Balut, originating from Chinese influence, has a rich history spanning nearly 2 centuries in the Philippines. Once considered an elite delicacy, it's now a casual snack often enjoyed with a cold beer, akin to ice cream on a hot day or ketchup on a hot dog. This fertilized duck egg, popularly consumed in the Philippines and across Southeast Asia, including Vietnam, Thailand, China, and Malaysia, may seem daunting at first glance. Incubated at around 104 degrees Fahrenheit for about 16 to 20 days, balut contains a partially developed embryo with feathers and a beak. Prepared similarly to hard-boiled eggs, balut is boiled for 20 to 30 minutes and served warm, typically seasoned with salt, vinegar, and soy sauce in the Philippines, and with salt, pepper, and Vietnamese coriander in Vietnam. Balut is typically enjoyed as a street food snack or as part of a meal. To eat it, the top of the shell is cracked open, and the liquid inside, called soup, is sipped. Then the remaining contents, including the partially formed duck embryo and yolk, are eaten directly from the shell, often with a sprinkle of salt or a squeeze of lemon juice. For those adventurous enough to try balut, the experience involves cracking the shell, sipping the broth, and savoring the yolk before consuming the duck embryo, a process that may take some getting used to, but adds to the cultural richness of the dish. It may sound disgusting, but the taste is out of this world. Number 7. Fugu. Fugu, the Japanese puffer fish, stands out as one of the world's most unusual and potentially perilous delicacies. Notably, certain varieties of fugu, such as the king Tora fugu and the queen mafugu species, harbor toxins like tetrodotoxin, which can prove lethal if not expertly prepared. Tetrodotoxin lurks within various parts of the fish, including the liver, testes, ovaries, and skin, varying by fugu types. This toxin originates from bacteria ingested by wild fugu from coral reefs. Once consumed by humans, tetrodotoxin disrupts sodium absorption, leading to muscle paralysis, a potentially deadly consequence. In the past, adventurous individuals, primarily men, sought the thrill of consuming fugu, often indulging in its liver for a few hours of partial paralysis, akin to daredevil activities like skydiving. But such risks were evident, with notable instances of fatalities, prompting Japan to regulate fugu preparation and ban toxin-containing parts in 1958, following a tragic death toll of 168. Despite the regulations and the rise of farm-raised fugu, which diminishes poisoning risk, incidences still occur, particularly among amateur fishermen who caught and improperly prepared fugu at home. Additionally, the migration of highly toxic Tora fugu to colder waters around Hokkaido poses new risks to unsuspecting individuals. Interestingly, fugu's peak season is winter, when it becomes fattier and more flavorful, with the soft roe, shirako, reaching its prime size before egg laying. This time offers the best opportunity to savor this delicacy. While advancements in farming mitigate risk, fugu's allure remains intertwined with its potential danger, adding to its mystique and cautionary appeal. Number 6. Poisonous purple pears. Here's another nightmare dish from the Georgian era. Between 1714 and 1830, cooks were embracing new techniques like quick vegetable cooking and enjoying fruits from distant lands. However, not all culinary ventures were safe. In the midst of this culinary renaissance, a dangerous recipe emerged: stewed Wharton pears. This seemingly harmless dish involved peeling and quartering winter pears, seasoning them with cloves, lemon peel, sugar, and red wine, and stewing them under a pewter lid. Little did cooks know the pewter would leach tin, copper, and lead into the fruit, creating a lethal concoction. This deadly dish was the brainchild of Hannah Glass, renowned for her cookbook, The Art of Cookery, Made Plain and Simple. Despite facing personal challenges and setbacks, Glass's culinary legacy endures. Yet among her many recipes, stewed Wharton pears serves as a cautionary tale. They remind us of the risk lurking in historical cookbooks. So, as we explore the rich tapestry of culinary history, let's tread carefully and avoid the poisonous purple pears altogether. Number 5. Bird's nest soup. While the idea of consuming bird's nests might seem unusual to some, bird's nest soup holds a significant cultural and culinary importance in Chinese gastronomy, representing centuries-old traditions and culinary craftsmanship. Popular Chinese delicacy, bird's nest soup, is often hailed for its numerous health benefits, including boosting immunity and aiding pregnancy. Crafted from the nest of swiftlet birds, composed primarily of the bird's saliva, this soup has graced Chinese cuisine for centuries, tracing its origins back to the Ming Dynasty. The nest, available in various grades like white, yellow, and the esteemed red variety, were historically reserved for imperial nobility. Despite myths suggesting red nests contain bird blood, the color actually stems from the bird's diverse diet. Swiftlets found in Southeast Asia construct their nest in dark caves, usually strands of saliva, forming intricate, hammock-like structured adhered to cave walls. Harvesting these nests, often perilous, involves climbing treacherous wooden ladders, leading to tragic accidents for some collectors. But as you probably assume, controversy surrounds the dish due to the endangerment of swiftlets. Excessive consumption threatens their survival, prompting bans on nest harvesting in certain regions like Dazo Island and Hainan, where swiftlets face extinction. To address this issue, farming initiatives have emerged in places like Malaysia and Thailand, using converted structures as artificial habitats for swiftlets. While bird's nest soup remains an amazing dish, conservation efforts and sustainable practices are crucial to ensure the survival of these remarkable birds and preserve the tradition of this revered dish. Number 4. Viper soup. Let's talk about the viper soup, as described in Charlotte Mason's The Lady's Assistant for Regulating and Supplying the Table from 1787. Reading Mason's recipe, one might wonder if she's describing a cooking method or one of Hercules' 12 labors. According to Mason, the first step is to acquire live vipers, although she doesn't specify from where. Then, one must skin them, decapitate them, and cut them into 2-inch pieces before boiling them along with their hearts in about 1 gallon of water for every 8 vipers, if they happen to be large. Whether it's the violent nature of the recipe or Mason's disregard for proper punctuation, one thing is clear: viper soup was surprisingly popular in the 18th century. Various sources from the time recommend adding white wine or liquor to the broth, and Mason suggests garnishing the soup with herbs, spices, and lemon slices to enhance the flavor. But how did this exotic dish make its way to English tables? The answer lies in Britain's expansive empire. Viper soup originated in China, where snake skin was prized for its supposed medicinal properties. It was believed that the snake's flexibility could relieve joint stiffness, its shedding skin could benefit the skin, and its potent venom could invigorate the body, a trait highly valued in Georgian culture. This belief in the healing powers of animals, especially when their demise is sudden and violent, explains the seemingly brutal nature of Mason's recipe. The vipers had to be alive to maximize their potency, according to the prevailing beliefs of the time. Number 3. Garum. Forget the complex methods of the Romans. Today's garum makers have modernized the process. No longer do we need vast quantities of fish, salt, and stone tanks. Garum or garum is an ancient Roman condiment that might sound strange at first, but was highly prized in its time. Essentially, it was a fermented fish sauce that served as a staple seasoning in Roman cuisine. Despite its evolution, true garum remains a beloved culinary treasure, celebrated by chefs worldwide for its robust, umami-packed flavors. Just a few drops can transform an entire dish. In ancient Rome, garum was the ketchup of its time, crafted from small fish, brine, and thyme. As garum spread globally, different regions added aromatic herbs, spices, and even wine to enhance its complexity. While salt was sparingly used in ancient Greece and Rome, fish sauce, known as liquamen or garum, was essential. Garum became a versatile condiment, elevating dishes and sauces, and Greek and Roman methods involved layering small, fatty fish with large fish entrails and salt in clay pots. Left to ferment in the sun for up to 3 months. The liquid was then strained and bottled. The remaining solids were sometimes pressed into a cheaper, cloudier sauce, serving as a seasoning in their own right. Sadly, though, despite its popularity in ancient times, the extract recipe for garum has been lost in history, and modern attempts to recreate it often vary. Number 2. Haggis. If you were to ask any Scotchman the age-old question, "What is haggis?" you might get a playful response like, "It's a small four-legged creature with 2 legs shorter than the others, so it can dash around the highlands without tipping over. You catch one by running in the opposite direction." But the joke seems to have taken an unexpected turn, as a recent online survey revealed that 1/3 of American tourists visiting Scotland actually believed haggis to be a wild animal, with nearly 1/4 of them arriving in Scotland thinking they could catch one. Haggis is a Scottish dish that's really different. It's made from sheep's heart, liver, and lungs, along with onions, spices, and oatmeal, all stuffed inside the sheep's stomach. People started making it a long time ago to use up every part of the sheep and have food during tough times in Scotland. In reality, haggis is more like a crumbly sausage, boasting a coarse, oat-filled texture and a cozy, peppery taste. It's often enjoyed alongside smashed turnips, neeps, and mashed potatoes, taties, accompanied by a wee dram of whiskey. Haggis is quite versatile. It can be used as stuffing for poultry or game, or even fried up for a hearty breakfast akin to crumbled black pudding. Traditionally, hunters would utilize the offal from their kills, using the cleaned animal's stomach as a makeshift cooking vessel. Minced heart, liver, and lungs were mixed with oatmeal, onion, suet, seasoning, and spices before cooking. While natural castings are still common, synthetic ones are becoming increasingly popular with no discernible impact on flavor. Making haggis is like a special skill, and it's often served hot with turnips and potatoes on Burns Night, a Scottish celebration. Even though haggis might seem strange, it's a big part of Scottish culture and history. Number 1. Tuna eyeball. In Japanese sushi restaurants, the focus is often on the delectable cuts of tuna belly, featured in maki rolls or served as sashimi. However, take a stroll through a fish market or grocery store and you might encounter a unique offering: tuna eyeballs. Chefs in Japan have found creative ways to turn these tennis ball-size eyeballs into appetizers or bar snacks. The tuna eyeball comprises a hard exterior, known as the sclera, housing the lens, iris, and gelatinous fluid. While the sclera is typically too tough to consume, the inner contents become tender when cooked, resembling the texture of bone marrow. Common cooking methods involve light braising with soy sauce and mirin, or sautéing with sesame oil and ginger. Although the flavor profile is subtle, likened to squid, mussels, or hard-boiled egg, the experience of consuming tuna eyeballs is considered a delicacy. Understanding the anatomy of a tuna eyeball reveals that the lens, iris, and inner fluids are encased in the sclera. with the latter being less palatable due to its firm and chewy texture. The cooking methods mentioned earlier, with soy sauce, marin or ginger and sesame oil, are favored by chefs, creating a dish often served with ginger, rice vinegar, soy sauce, and lemon slices. Found primarily in Japan's izakayas, casual after-work pubs, tuna eyeballs are served one or two at a time alongside other dishes. Adventurous diners may even pair them with a unique drink known as tuna's tears, a rare concoction featuring soju and raw tuna lens. So, if you find yourself in Japan, consider giving this local delicacy a try for a truly distinctive culinary experience. We finally scratched the surface of the 20 strangest ways that food was prepared in history. Which surprised you the most? Comment them down below. Thanks for watching.